Welcome, everybody, to another week of Stay Curious. I'm your host, Mark Marquette. So glad you've joined us. We're broadcasting live at 4 o'clock here at downtown Titusville at the American Space Museum. Marty, we may hear a rumbling going on, as I think there's a Falcon 9 launch scheduled about at this moment at 4:07 p.m. there. And glad that you all joined us today. We're going to kick off the week with looking at two space shuttles. One that took up some sea urchin semen with them, okay? And the mobility of this sperm was a very important finding in space at the time, and we know they've probably done more work on that since they did in the 1990s, but an important concept of populating outer space is how can we reproduce in space as human beings. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. We've got the shuttle that was launched just a couple weeks before the fateful Challenger disaster in 1986 with Congressman Bill Nelson on board. And two Nelsons, in fact, two NASA administrators in the future on 61C. And then we're going to talk about the fifth shuttle docking with our friend Mike Baker, who's going to be featured at Shuttle Fest in June. So greetings, Marty Winkle, my co-producer for over 1,400 episodes of Stay Curious. Glad to have you back in the saddle here on a new week here in January, and a busy time for us all here as we celebrate the Astronaut Memorial coming up. And then the last week of the month, I'm going to be at SpaceCom in Orlando. We have one of our board members and with All Points has gotten a booth for me and my Binary Star executive producer Gabriel Rothblatt to both attend this important 3-day event that is a who's who of technology in the space industry. So Marty will be picking up some different shots. And there's the rumble we're hearing here. Maybe you can faintly hear that. And one day we'll have a camera on the roof so we could cut to that launch and show you the streak going up in the sky right now. So a lot of people happy to get another Falcon 9 launch off. I think it's the third or fourth one of the year here already. So thank you all for watching today. The numbers were great last week, and we hope that you're still telling your friends and family that this is a one-of-a-kind type of podcast where we talk about space history and have some great guests. Like tomorrow, we're going to have a guest, Kevin Hostrasser, is going to talk about this bad boy here, the F1 engine. Kevin has several 3D models, the F1 and SSME, that he made in our museum. He's bringing a real big one, he said, with him, and you're going to learn everything about the mighty F1 engine, the architect of which Wernher von Braun used on the Saturn V rocket up there. So there was the SpaceX rocket launch live. I could have had that on there as I'm getting into my smart tablet here so we can say hi to you out there in the world. We want to thank NASA Manned Space for sponsoring us. That's Mitch Rothman. Okay, very active in with our events here at the American Space Museum. But he and his wife Paula administrate Manned Space, a Facebook outlet there. And I'm not getting the YouTube channel coming up here. And he has a Facebook and YouTube presence. He being Mitch Rothman and his Manned Space, all kinds of good stuff up there for you to check out. So become a member of Manned Space. There, he was launched in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. They particularly have a lot of things about the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo on there. So I'm having trouble pulling up my YouTube channel here. It's just a circle going around. Let me check that out here before we get rolled off there. But thank you, Mitch. In your Manned Space, you'll get a lot of good stuff watching them. 10 humans orbiting Earth. Let's talk about that before we get into our two shuttles of the month of January. Is we know the situation with Crew Dragon is they're going to undock sometime. They're going to undock, and they know the precise time. I didn't write it down. They're going to undock on Wednesday, and this will be shown on the NASA YouTube channel. And also, I watched today, and I'll show you some pictures here in just a minute of the changing the commander from Mike Fink, okay, to the Russian, Oleg, I think, is the Russian that's going to, Sergey. Yeah, Sergey there in the middle there. So that's just going to leave Christopher Williams, Sergey, and another Sergey on the International Space Station when they depart. And then we'll be down to 6 humans orbiting the Earth by Friday. They're scheduled to undock Wednesday and land right after midnight Pacific time. Steve Jochum sent me a time of 3 something in the morning when they're going to splash down on Thursday, 3:40 a.m. Thursday. And Steve, you might clarify, is that Eastern Standard Time? You're in Central Standard Time, I believe, actually. So, but it is going to be in the middle of the night, Thursday morning after midnight when they come back. So let me push my button here. So if Steve says anything about that, Marty, let me know as I'm efforting my YouTube channel here. Of course, we got 3 Chinese orbiting the Earth. Okay, 2 Russians and Chris Williams have spent about 48 days on space right now. They were launched November 27th. Okay, so they've been up there all December and just this half part of January. And to conjecture what the medical emergency is, there's the Crew Dragon 11 logo. All right. With the Russian in there, Cyrillic, Mike Fink, Zena Cardman, and the Japanese astronaut, Kimaya Yu. All right. Now, I watched, there they are there, across the way there. Fink has got the most time in space. This is his 4th flight. He's been up there over 580 days. The whole crew's been up there over 165 days is about what they've been up there. And Yu is also a veteran of a shuttle mission up there. So what is the medical emergency that one of these 4 has that they have to come back to Earth? One, it's not life-threatening. Here they are just a couple hours ago at the 2:30 turnover from Mike Fink, okay, to Sergei Servechkov there. This is his second trip to space. This is about his 230th day in space, the Russian on the right. So in the middle is the Japanese astronaut who was in the middle the whole time, kind of holding his leg like that. All right. So I'm just being wondering who's sick and who's coming back. There's Zena Cardman. She seemed very animated. So did Michael Fink. All right. They all got together here for a big hug at the end of it. And Marty, as I thought more about this over the weekend, I'm thinking kidney stone or gallbladder stone. I think it's something like that they gave him medicine, or her, Zena, to withstand the pain, and they need to come back and have those kidney stones removed from their body. Now, I've never had kidney stones, but I understand whether you're a man or a woman, it's like pulling a bowling ball through your urethra, that it's very painful. Marty, have you experienced in that medical problem at all?
Fortunately, no, I have not.
But you know what I'm talking about, what
Yes,
people
I
say
do.
about it, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they were all very chipper and animated. It was fun to watch this exchange. In fact, there is Michael Fink. They have a key. I'll show you the key in a minute that Sergey, but he did like this to give him ceremoniously the key. And in the background is the other Russian cosmonaut, Sergei Mikhayev, who's going to stay up there also. You see, there's a bell there, like the bell that they used on ships to ring when they changed commands of ships. So they ring the bell, ceremoniously hand over the key. And there he has in his left hand a big fat key. okay, that's ceremoniously part of the exchange there. I don't know what that key fits on the International Space Station, but that was what they did just an hour and a half ago. Yes, Marty.
Okay, per Steve Holcomb, SpaceX Crew 11 is due to splash off California's coast at approximately 3:40 a.m. on Thursday, January 15th, Pacific Standard Time.
So it's 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 3:40.
Well, he's assuming it is.
Oh, he's assuming it's Pacific. Okay. So that'd be, of course, 3 hours later for us. So, needless to say, we'll get on top of this, and it's going to be before sunrise, which is 7 a.m. about everywhere right now. So, but interesting to thank you very much, Steve Jokums, for all that you do and updating us about that right there. And man, I'm not getting my. Um, we're grateful for everybody watching today, and you're going to enjoy our program here in just a minute. But that's what's going on the International Space Station. Never happened before that a crew had to return early because of a medical problem. But if you watched like me and look at these pictures here, uh, it's the Japanese astronaut who's not the one that's not standing up and moving around, and they're kind of like surrounding him there, and that's kind of like human nature. That I'm going to say he's got kidney stones. We'll probably never know, all right, because medical problems in space are just like here on Earth. They're as your private business, and nobody else needs to know except you and your medical team. So, but they all look very healthy and fit to come back to Earth. Though a month early, that does curtail some of the science that they were doing. Maybe they'll leave some of those active experiments on there for the other crew. But the other crew is going to be busy with 3 there for maybe up to 6 weeks until Crew 12 is launched. And that date is no earlier than February 15th, a month from now, 4 weeks. And there's a lot of maintenance and a lot of things that have to be done. So these 3 astronauts, and actually it's one astronaut from America, Chris Williams, and then Sergey and Sergey up there from Russia to take care of everything up there. So they'll have a lot of room and space, and I'll bet that'll be kind of weird to them all, because I can't think of when we've had just three people on the space station that wasn't back in the first 2 years of it being occupied. So we'll keep you up on that. And space.com is a great source for that if you know. Other sources are also excellent. 10 shuttles of the month of January. We love touting the space shuttle era as we feel our museum is passing the torch from the Apollo era to the shuttle era. These shuttles of the month of January include, of course, the launches of Columbia on January 16th and its fateful return February 3rd, and STS 51L on January 28th, and that just climbed into the sky for 70 minutes before it was destroyed. But the 8 of the 10 shuttles launched were all before noon. That's kind of odd. All 5 orbiters orbited, and the ones that had the most was the newest orbiter, tail number 105 Endeavour, had 3 flights, as the oldest and the youngest orbiters had the most, as Columbia had 3 launches in January, and Endeavour 105 had 3. 1 for Atlantis, 2 for Discovery, and 1 for Challenger. Back in the day, of course, just the launch of Challenger. 2 Mir space station missions, okay, STS-89 launched on January 22nd, and of course 2 shuttles launched on the 12th of the month, STS-61C and 81, that we're going to talk about here in a pair of minutes. 4 satellites were deployed. 3 labs, all right, IML-1, Macro Lab, and of course the Space Hab on Columbia. And 1 Department of Defense top secret mission, that one being STS-51C there, launched on January 24th. So, and I'm thinking 56 humans were launched during the month, and 5 of the missions had 7 crew members. Okay, which become quite a standard there. So let's look at them. 61C was launched January 12th, 1986 on a 6 mission, 6-day profile. And it had 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 different satellite experiments. All right, it deployed the SATCOM of RCA, and it monitored Halley's Comet. Okay, it was a big deal to photograph that. It had the Materials Science Laboratory number 2 on it, and it was doing infrared imaging and Materials Science Laboratory stuff on there, and had 3 students experiments involved. Columbia, which opened the era of space transportation system with 4 orbital test flights, is featured on the patch in re-entry in the emblem designed by the crew. Gold lettering against a black background honors the astronaut crew members, and a delta pattern surrounding colorful re-entry shock waves. And the payload specialists are honored similarly below the sphere, those being Bob Sinker and of course, Bill Nelson, who was a congressman from Florida at the time. Representations of the U.S. flag and the constellation Draco flanked the album's core. All right. Now, Draco is a very indistinct constellation that weaves itself in between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, and that hardly looks like Draco, those stars up there. So I don't know where they got that or why they chose Draco. But Hoot Gibson was the commander. I got some pictures of the crew here. There's Hoot talking up at the front there. This was Hoot's 2nd mission to space, and as such, him being a commander after one flight means that he really had the right stuff. There's Bill Nelson on the left. Bob Sinker is beside him. Bob talks frequently out to Space Center about his experience. One thing that I got from Sinker, Marty, that he told me was the helmets that they wore, those sort of go-kart looking helmets, were more for sound suppression than safety about them hitting their heads. He said he felt like his eardrums would have been busted had he not had that helmet on. It was a night launch at no, it was not a night launch, so I got the wrong launch there. That's interesting. So ignore that launch is probably a repeat of STS-81 we're going to talk about. There's Stephen Hawley in the middle. This was his 2nd of 5 missions. Beside him is Franklin Chang Diaz, his 1st of 7 missions, okay? And then the last 2 behind Hoot there is you've got Charlie Bolden on his 1st of 4 missions. He was twice a pilot, twice a commander. And Pinky Nelson, George Pinky Nelson, his 2nd of 3 missions there. There's the launch, sort of. I like showing their signatures. This is a crew sign lithograph that would be a good one to have because Bob Sinker on the left there. Marty, look at his signature there. He's really changed it over the years. You see Bob there, but he basically his signature now is just hard to discern what it is on there. And and we got George Nelson. I mean, there's Bill Nelson in the back there, and then Pinky Nelson. He signs his pinky. Okay, Nelson there. Very cool, I think, to always see the signatures of these guys on there. And when Bill Nelson, who, of course, was a congressman from Florida, when they had to land out at Kennedy Space Center, They wanted to land at Kennedy Space Center, but instead they landed in California. He took Florida oranges with him to space, so he's enjoying one there in flight there. Boy, that looks like a big good one there. And of course, he was our NASA administrator in the in the Biden administration. Then passing off the torch to Jared Isaacman now. When they landed in California, they pulled a joke on him, and when he came out of the shuttle, they had a crate of California oranges for him to enjoy. All right, nobody misses a trick here to play a joke on an astronaut. In Pinky Nelson, there's our friend Bert Dick with Mr. Nelson, West Virginia. Not West Virginia, Wisconsin. Badgers is what he was a graduate of there, and this is at an event that our friend from the National Space Society met George Nelson Pinky there. So he had two Nelsons. He had two former future NASA administrators on board, as Charlie Bolden there in the commander's seat, and one of his later missions also became a NASA administrator under the Obama administration for 8 years. So cool mission. Landed safely after 6 days and doing what the shuttle was supposed to do, be a space truck, make some money off of RCA, Americom, and do a whole bunch of experiments on there. So, and then when they landed on December 18th, the next launch on January 28th, 10 days later, of course, broke the hearts of everybody and stopped the space program, shuttle program in its tracks. So, all right, let's look up here STS-81. And this is the launch of STS-81 at 4:27 a.m., the fifth docking to the Mir space station. And there's a nice streak shot. Not sure which one of our photographers took that. Could be Carlton Bailey. Hope you're feeling okay, CB. All right, I'm getting all kinds of errors on my tablet here, Marty. So if somebody's got something to say, chime in there. But hope everybody's enjoying this show today. Mike Baker, it's a V for the fifth Mir docking. In there, of course, you see the American flag, the Russian flag laid out there with the crew in there. They took up Jerry Linenger and brought back John Blaha after staying on the Mir space station. What is interesting about that is there's Mike Baker. There's how Mike signs his name. This was Mike's last flight. Okay. Bakes, as they call him, has become a great friend of the American Space Museum, and he is going to be the Saturday speaker in the morning, as he was the director of operations at Russia for over 3 years, handling the Americans going on Russian spaceships up there. There's the crew, left to right there. That would be, who is on the left? That's Grunsfeld. Looks like on the far left there. Yeah, that'd be Grunsfeld, Baker on the left, Brett Jett, pilot. This was Jett's. I have those notes over here. This was Jett's second of 4 flights. He'd later be a commander. This was Baker's fourth and last. Grunsfeld, his second of 4. He's on the far left. With the microphone is Peter Wissoff, his 3 of 4 flights. And then, no, that's Linenger. I'm sorry, Linenger with the, and then Wissoff is his 3 of 4 flights. So he's very seasoned, experienced there. As is Marcia Ivins. This is Marcia's 4th of 5th flights. She was the most experienced astronaut. Well, Baker also had 4 flights with her there. So they're taking up Jerry Linenger, who experienced the fire on the Mir space station about a month after this launch, and then brought back John Blaha after 118 days on the Mir space station. And Blaha was um, Blaha was the commander of a space shuttle, um, STS-43. That was Baker's first flight to space, and Baker was the pilot of that. There's Bakes getting ready for the flight, all cool and calm. He don't look like that anymore. He shaves. He keeps his head uh, shaved there. There's the mess of the Mir space station. Okay, and the docking port is off to the right, I believe, and you got two Soyuz space stations, or two Soyuz and a cargo ship docked there. And Bakes talked about the tight fit to the docking port, and that there was a solar panel right there in front of his window, but he said it was a piece of cake. Just the computers worked perfectly, the shuttle worked perfectly to get him in there, and there they all are on there. Um, let's see, we've got Leninger in the upper left, and Blaha has already integrated with the crew. You got Grunsfeld in the middle, and Blaha's off of his shoulder there with the two Russian cosmonauts uh, there and over by Leninger. He's already changed into his Mir outfit there. So great group of people, so forth there. This had one very interesting experiment there that I alluded to early on that I wanted to share with you all. And now that was an interesting STS-81. Scientists studied sperm mobility from sea urchins, all right? And they took this little patch with them up there. There's a famous Simpsons. That's Homer Simpson. There was a famous episode of him as a spermatozoid, I guess you call it. That was kind of a fun episode there. But there is a patch, sperm shuttle to Mir. Okay, and this is an important study from sea urchins in microgravity, finding that a protein crucial for activating sperm mobility, FP130, phosphorated much faster in orbit with microgravity than on Earth, indicating enhanced activation. Okay, in parallel experiments on STS-84 in May 1997, this was in January 1997, also used sea urchin sperm to confirm the effects on protein phosphorylation linked to mobility activity, demonstrating gravity's impact on sperm function. Key findings. Sea urchin sperm showed significantly increased protein, 3 to 4 times faster in microgravity, suggesting quicker activation of movement with this FP130 crucial protein. The study focused on the specific phosphoproteins that regulate sperm mobility, showing that microgravity altered these fundamental biochemical processes, okay? And the ground comparison, researchers compared the spaceflight results to identical experiments on Earth to isolate effects of microgravity. That's how they showed that the sperm acted quicker in microgravity with this protein than it did. Ah, there we got finally straightened out there. I see Jim McDade. Yeah, Carlton's sick. Sorry about that. Jim McDade says Mir smelled like a little closet where many people keep their cat litter box. Well, yes, a lot of people comment, including Wendy Lawrence, who was up there twice on the Mir also. She said that it looked like they never threw anything away, Marty. They didn't throw anything away. And I said, how was it different from the first time to the second time, Wendy? And she said, it was more cluttered. They don't throw nothing away, and it always smelled, and you had to get used to that smell on there. Well, these semen of sea urchin sperm experiments were part of larger efforts like the ESA BioRack studies, and they revealed that even tiny cells like sperm are sensitive to gravity, with microgravity impacting their core activation mechanisms, providing insights into cellular biology in space. And these are important studies for the future of mankind and going to Mars and making Mars a permanent settlement up there. If we can't procreate properly with healthy humans being created, then we got a problem. There's been other episodes there. You even see underneath Homer, they got the little sea urchin underneath there. Okay, so a serious patch for a serious study, and now you know what some of what STS-81 was up to in their investigations up there. So, again, another look at the space station. At the Mir space station. The docking port is facing us there that it docked to. Right there, you can see the solar panel that had to be slipped underneath there. And we've shown you pictures of the shuttle docked to the Mir taken by a Soyuz orbiting around it. There's Marcia Ivins having some fun up there with Jerry Lininger and the cosmonaut that was up there at the time. That was Corzon. Yeah, Corzon. I've heard Bakes talk about his good friendship with him. Met him in space, and then he's dealing with him at Kazakhstan as the director of operations. So you're going to enjoy Bakes as a speaker. If you've not seen him out the space station or space center, Marty, I like his geography lesson. He's got some great pictures he took with Nikon telephoto lenses, and he points out spots around the Earth. But there he is, just waiting for people to show up, talking with the lady that counts the number of people going into the astronaut encounter there. And they also have Fraggle Rock going on there, Marty. There's Bakes looking all smooth and everything. We take him out to dinner. Last time we took him out to dinner, he's really easy on us. He wanted chili. So he went to Dogs R Us and ate instead of a fancy restaurant. But can't wait to see Mike. He's a wonderful guy. And there he is with Borelli there. Yes, John Borelli up there in New York. All right. John sends me pictures all the time, and he's got some good stuff going on. Thank you, John, for supporting the American Space Museum and thinking of us all the time as you give a good handshake to Bakes here. Just there's two shuttles in the month of January, launched on January 12th, one in 1986 and the other in 1997. And so we'll be talking about the rest of them throughout the month. We will have a couple special shows that we will reprise that I did. Marty and I will talk about later here when I'll be out of I'll be in Orlando at SpaceCom on the 27th, 28th, 29th. Jim McDade, thank you for watching. Steve Jokums is watching. Mostly Parked. Dave Stangy. Tom Celentano. Gary Gerald. Ophelia is over in France, which France is about as far the distance from Earth between Titusville and France is about the distance that Artemis 2 is going to come to the moon, by the way. Doug Forrest. He was down in New Zealand seeing his parents. It looks like you're back in California. Mark Fell. Cliff Watson's down under in Pomona. R.G. Jubilee watching from Merritt Island. Carlton Bailey from his compound there in Canaveral Groves, about 20 miles from where we sit. Dean Babcock, Dwight Stephen Benacki. Hey, Dwight, great to see you watching there. Say hello to your wife, Alexandra. We were talking about possibly showing the Skylab documentary that Dwight has produced at Shuttle Fest as the evening entertainment on Saturday evening. Robert Law, good to see you. He'll be here in about a month. Tom Usiak's in Pennsylvania. Good luck with your little procedure there. Hewitt Lane and Mr. Chris Callie watching today. Thank you all for staying curious with us. Hello all everybody. And I will. And I see some other comments there. You kind of get off track once in a while in the comments, but I'm reading them there. But that's okay. Everybody likes talking to everybody on there. So tomorrow we've got a wonderful talk on the F1 engine right here. Okay. By Kevin Hofstrasser. Kevin Hofstrasser will tell you everything about this engine that you ever wanted to know, just like he did with the SSME engine on a great program. So you're not going to want to miss that. Tell your friends too. If they don't watch it live, they can watch it anytime on YouTube, as we have over 1,200 episodes of Stay Curious on YouTube alone. So there's certainly a lot that we can harvest. So don't be upset that I'm not here personally if we have a replay mission, a replay show, because there's so many of them to choose from, and so many of them that many of you've never seen. And if you have seen it, my gosh, you ever watched a rerun before? Of course you have. You'll enjoy it just as much the second time around. So Kevin Hofstrasser tomorrow in the F1 engine. I can't wait for Kevin to sit here and explain that all to you in great detail. Marty, everything okay on our Streamlabs production over there?
Yeah, we're okay, Mark.
There's a beautiful cigarette lighter or fire starter lighter, American Space Museum at John Borelli, that we saw with him there. And he's even got Stay Curious on the back of it, Marty. So I'm going to go out there and start me some fires. Where is that Stay Curious logo? There it is. There you can see it on there. Thank you, John. And appreciate y'all. All that you do to support us in so many ways. So until tomorrow, with Kevin Hofstrasser talking about the F1 engine of the Saturn V rocket, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum or watch and Stay Curious to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much.